With the release of the firmware for the BGH1 box camera, IP video streaming is now available to the masses. Throughout this video, we're going to take a look at how you get IP streaming set up for your BGH1 camera, and we're going to take a look at some comparisons between the IP streaming 4K quality and the 1080p quality. So let's jump over and take a look at the menus now. Now that we have the HDMI info feed display showing, we can go into the menus to walk through setting up the IP stream functionality on the BGH1 box camera. Now, as a note, IP streaming is only available over the Ethernet or LAN connection on this camera, so I will be using the LUMIX Tether for Multicam software to walk through the menus and control the camera over that LAN connection. So let's jump in and click Menu. Once you're in the menu, you are found with a couple of new options here. So to get where we need to go for IP streaming, we're going to go to the Setup menu, which is the wrench, then into the In and Out sub-menu, which is the box with the Wi-Fi icons, and then we're going to click LAN/Wi-Fi. Now in this menu, we're going to set up the actual way that the camera is found on your network first. So you're going to go to LAN/Wi-Fi Setup. Now, looking at the options here, we've covered these before and they're in the user's manual for which one to choose for your particular internet setup. But in this case, we're going to be showing you the DHCP client method of connecting in and getting your IP address for your camera. DHCP client will have an IP address automatically assigned by your home router or modem so that it is found on your network. Once you have this selected, you can go down and look at Network Address Display LAN. Now from here, make sure you pay attention or write down the IP address that has been assigned to your camera. You'll see that this is going to be different based on your camera. It could be different based on multiple cameras if you have them on your setup. Each camera has to have its own individual IP address. So once you know what this IP address is, you can go back to the previous menus. Just as a note, if you're in an environment where having your camera set up with a static IP address is more preferable, it is available in the BGH1 box cameras. To do this, you would go to IP address settings for LAN and change this to static IP address. This will allow you to enter in your own IP address for each individual camera so you can find them more readily later on. Now we're ready to actually go in and look at the streaming setup menu for IP streaming. So we'll click into here and you'll see you have an option for streaming function on or off, streaming quality, and RTSP port. We're going to focus on streaming quality first. Once you click in here, you'll see that there are 3 pages worth of different IP streaming outputs available for your use. The differences here is that you'll have an H.265 compression for HEVC, or you'll have an H.264 compression for more traditional stable connections. The other part that you'll be able to see here is that there is also a bitrate difference between the different options. You'll see here I have selected H.264, 4K, 60p with 50 megabit per second output. If I go to the first page, we'll also have H.265 or HEVC, 4K, 60p at 50 megabits per second. This is going to depend greatly on the throughput available on your network. So pick the one that provides the most stable connection for your specific platform. In my case, we're going to use H.265 4K 60p at 25 megabits per second for this demonstration. Now once this is selected, you'll notice that you also have the RTSP port option here. Now, most times you can just leave this as the default 554 and everything should work the way it should. The last thing we're going to do is click Streaming Function and turn this on. Once you have those options set, you can close the menu and look back at the main info display. Now, an indicator to tell you that you are ready for IP streaming is going to be found in the top corner of the display under the white balance indicator, and also, as you'll notice, under the HDMI triggering icon on the top side of the camera. This icon is a blue arrow that indicates that the streaming IP function is available and sending a signal out ready to be received by whatever software or video player you're using to capture that footage. So now that we have the IP streaming functionality enabled for the BGH1 box camera, let's show how to access that feed when using something like VLC. The input commands will be the identical commands that you're going to input for something like OBS as well, or any other program that can take an RTSP video feed. You'll do this in VLC by going to Media, Open Network Stream, and then enter in the RTSP feed following the instructions that are in the new guide released with the camera update. In the string RTSP : / the IP address of your specific camera / stream. Once you have that enabled, just click play. Now that the stream is running into VLC here, you'll notice that the video feed in the audio feed are already synced using the inbuilt microphones or an attached microphone to your BGH1 box camera. Now that the IP streaming is set and you've confirmed that it's working, let's take a look at what the image quality looks like between the 4K IP stream image quality versus the HDMI out 1080p footage that you would typically be getting when you're using something like a capture card for feeding that content into your computer. So now, as you can see here, this is HDMI out from my BGH1 box camera into my ATEM Mini, which is how I would normally be using this camera attached for things like our LUMIX Live platform. This is using the video feed from the camera with this microphone, which is all actually running through the ATEM, so there is a sync between video and audio. So now, as you can see here, this is the IP streaming 4K video that comes over the setup that we just walked through. One thing you'll notice is that the audio for this section is very different than the rest because I'm using the built-in audio, which is already in sync with the video file that comes from the BGH1 box camera. Now, if I snap my fingers, we'll change over to this microphone because I like it better. So now we're using this microphone, and all I've had to do is make a little bit of an adjustment on the timeline to sync this audio with the IP streaming feed. That is something that you'll want to be aware of with IP streaming, but it's easily mitigated because you can still plug in a 3.5mm microphone into the BGH1 and get higher quality audio than just the onboard scratch microphones that are built into it. So I hope this was useful for you guys. I really look forward to bringing you more content in the next video. Thanks for watching.
Panasonic